In the first part of this video, I will explain why it is so difficult to listen actively and give some tips how to become a better listener. In the second part, I will give an overview of questioning techniques that can add to the quality of the communication with a person or a group. Active listening is easy in theory, but difficult to do in practice. The reason for this is that our mind has the tendency to jump to conclusions and to start thinking about our response to what we hear instead of focusing what the other person actually says. Nobel Prize laureate Daniel Kahneman offers the idea of System 1 and System 2 to explain two different thinking modes. Most of the time, System 1 is in control. It is responsible for all routine decisions and automatic actions we take. System 2 is the more advanced system that is capable of drawing in-depth attention to a task. The problem is that System 2 is lazy and needs to be consciously activated. This arrangement is perfectly suitable for most situations in our daily lives, but it can lead to erratic conclusions and wrong decisions if we are faced with more complex tasks like active listening. In this slide, I have complemented Kahneman's classification of System 1 and System 2 with behavioral characteristics developed by Brussels-based change facilitator Vincent de Waele, who also addresses the two different modes of thinking. He labels them as the mind's automatic and adaptive states. System 1 is fast, acts automatically, and is responsible for all everyday decisions. This automatic state likes routine, generalizations, and black and white thinking. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, effortful, but capable of making complex decisions. This adaptive state is open, sees nuances, and puts things into perspective. To demonstrate the workings of these two modes, Kahneman offers as an example an experiment that was originally set up by the psychologist Solomon Asch. It does nicely illustrate the challenge of active listening. In a moment, I will describe Ellen and Ben. Listen and decide what you think about these two persons. Ellen is intelligent, industrious, impulsive, critical, stubborn, envious. Ben is envious, stubborn, critical, impulsive, industrious, intelligent. Most people view Ellen much more favorable than Ben. This is because System 1 listens only to the initial traits and draws its conclusions before the whole information is received. Being intelligent and industrious puts Ellen in a positive light, while Ben is envious and stubborn. Only if the listener has activated System 2 does he perceive the whole list of traits and figures out that both descriptions are identical, just placed in the reverse order. This example beautifully demonstrates the essence of active listening. It is important to truly listen to what the other person is saying and to hold back any conclusions or start thinking about our response before the speaker has finished articulating his or her thoughts. On this slide, I have summarized some actions that support active listening. Most important, be interested and show it. Support the speaker with comments and use your nonverbal communication to express your interest. Allow for breaks and give time to think. Most people get anxious if there is silence in a conversation. However, often it is beneficial to endure it, as it gives both sides time to reflect on what has been said so far and to refocus the communication. Use different types of questions to get deeper into things. More about this in a moment. Do not just listen to what is being said, but also place attention on how it is being said. And finally, summarize and paraphrase to ensure that you have understood the speaker correctly. To facilitate communication in a dialogue or in a group, it is helpful to be familiar with some questioning techniques. In general, open questions like what, when, where, who are preferable to closed questions that can only be answered with yes or no. One piece of advice though, use why with care, because why questions often provoke a defensive reaction. For example, instead of asking why are you late, I could ask, what happened to you that you could not make it on time? Thus emphasizing that I'm interested in the factual side of things. To dig deeper into a topic, you will want to use inquiring questions. Here are some examples. Open questions are used to gather information and opinions. Tell me about what happened in yesterday's meeting. Probing questions help to obtain the full picture. Who exactly took the decision to postpone the meeting? Summarizing questions allow for checking and clarifying information. Are you saying that you are still angry about yesterday's outcomes? Reflective questions create new perspectives. How would you have acted if Tony would not have intervened in the way he did? Fact-searching is useful to gather additional information. For how many years have you been working in this company? Comparing questions look into similarities and differences. How does this differ from what you did last time? Hypothetical questions widen perspectives. What would happen? Hypothetical questions widen perspectives. What would happen if you would not attend these meetings anymore? Systemic questions are a great tool to provoke thinking and to broaden a person's perspective. The underpinning idea is that people never act in isolation. Therefore, it is useful to include in the question a broader perspective, for example, other parties that are implicated by the situation. Here are some examples. Circular questions. How do you think your colleagues feel about this situation? Or, in your opinion, what would our participants think if they would listen to our discussion right now? Scaling questions. On a scale from 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your colleague's performance in this task? Scaling questions. On a scale from 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your colleague's performance in this task? Or, out of 100%, how disappointed are you with this result? Scaling questions promote reflection. On a scale from 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your colleague's performance in this task? An interesting follow-up question could be, why did you rate it as a 3 and not as a 2 or 1? If a person or a group is overly fixated on a current problem, you might use a goal-oriented question. What needs to happen here in order for all group members to openly express their opinions? A final thought. When listening actively and using questioning techniques, it is about the person we are listening to, not about us. We have to learn to be open-minded and interested. Even if we do not agree with the speaker, we still can make an effort to understand his or her standpoint.